Hey, it's noon here in Ventnor City, New Jersey, and this is news that you can use for Wednesday, September 6th. Well, who the hell? Oh, from CarEdge with your hosts, Ray and Zach.
All right, here is the deal. We are going to jump into fleet sales data that we talked about a little bit yesterday. Dad, what's going on at General Motors and Stellantis continues to be pretty shocking, to be honest. We have the latest data here from Cox Automotive. Robust August fleet sales reflect month-over-month gains in commercial and government sectors. The reason we are jumping on General Motors and Stellantis, General Motors had the largest increase of volume, a large volume automakers in August, followed by Stellantis. Ford, surprisingly, had the largest decrease of sales into fleets. We talked about this just a little bit yesterday.
Yes, we did touch on it.
Look at that, Mark. Mark is on it.
Yeah.
Likely fleet sales. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. Nearly 1 in 5 cars sold last month was a fleet sale, so sold to not a consumer. And the automakers leading the way there, those that had the largest increases in their fleet sales, were General Motors, Jeep, Chrysler, Dodge, and Ram.
And
that does not sit well, especially when you start to look at year-over-year sales for some of those brands. Like Jeep, for example, their sales are actually down. They're down amidst the fact that they're increasing their fleet sales. This paints the picture of what's actually going on. The numbers look better than they are.
Well, we've been saying that for months. You know, I seem to recall speaking poorly about the industry publication Automotive News one time because the headline said,
close the blinds.
said how sales were up, and then somewhat buried in the lead was the fact that it was fleet sales that were up. Retail sales were not necessarily up, but fleet sales are up. Now, that's not to say that historically there haven't been there always have been fleet sales, but the percentage of fleet sales historically has been somewhere around 20%. But for the past few years, it has been well below that, and the increase in the amount of fleet sales has been significant over the past year.
Significant. I mean, look at the chart, Dad. Let me pull it up on the screen for everyone. Cox Automotive, fortunately, actually puts out data like this. This chart shows you monthly year-over-year change for fleet versus retail. Fleet is going to be blue.
Yes.
Orange is going to be retail. It's not even close. The month-over-month gains in fleet sales significantly outpace the month-over-month gains in retail sales. There are many months here where retail sales were actually down year-over-year, or pretty much down. They are up a little bit, but not nearly as much as fleet sales. Fleet sales are buoying all the numbers that we see.
Oh, I like
they
that.
are. They're
they are.
Yeah,
no, you're right. I'm not. This is one of those rare occasions where I'm not arguing with you, where I'm not disagreeing with you, because we've been saying it for months. When you dig a little more deeply into the numbers, you begin to understand that the retail market is either up slightly or flat in many cases. And it is fleet sales that have been leading the way to indicate that, seasonally adjusted sales rates are higher than really what they are.
And I love how the data gets reported, Dad, because we were looking at this just the other day. And if I'm not mistaken, it was 18% of new vehicles sold are fleet vehicles. So let's look at the actual numbers here. We've got 1.099 million retail units sold, 230,000 fleet shipments. That's more than 1 in 5, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, it's still around 20%.
It's around 20%.
Yeah, because it's 1.1 million.
Yep.
So if it was, it should be at 20%, it would be 220,000. It's close enough to 20%, maybe 21%.
So the number of vehicles that are being sold to commercial customers continues to rise and outstrip the amount of demand from consumers. That, to me, speaks volumes to what's actually going on in the market, especially when you start to think about, we talked about this a bit yesterday as well, There's a huge negative equity crisis going on. The average interest rate to finance a new or used vehicle is well above 9%.
Yes.
So there's a lot of case to be made for why consumers are taking themselves out of the market. These automakers still are able to report incredible numbers.
Yes. But we've been saying for months and months and months that the supply of people in the market is much lower than what it has been in the past, but that lower supply, for the most part, the people that they're appealing to still has the wherewithal, with as high as the prices are, to continue to buy cars. So what we've really seen over the last year and a half, 2 years perhaps, is the widening of that chasm between those who can be in the market and those who cannot. Okay. Those who can afford to buy a car and those who cannot afford to buy a car. And that chasm is wider today and probably deeper today than it has ever been in the history of our country.
Yeah.
But the manufacturers are thinking to themselves, well, if we can appeal to 25% of the market that can afford to buy cars, and that 20% represents, I don't know, 50 or 25% represents 50 or 60 million people. Well, the manufacturers have to be thinking, well, that's an ample enough supply of people in the marketplace. If it were me, I would feel better if the people that were actually in the marketplace was 100 million.
Yeah.
Okay. But in order to do that, they would have to then offer the less profitable for them, lower content, less expensive vehicles.
Which
And
typically are the fleet vehicles, right?
in many cases they are,
So
but
it's like,
those are just the fleet vehicles at this point, the ones that they're not making a lot of money on. Okay. Well, all the other vehicles that they're selling are high volume, high profit margin vehicles. Maybe not even high volume anymore, but high profit
content.
profit margin vehicles, so that they can afford to absorb a higher percentage of fleet sales, because the gross profit built into what they are actually retailing is so damn high.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has never been a worse time for someone to enter the market to buy a car.
But I think some of these
right
leading
now.
indicators demonstrate that it could potentially become a better time. Obviously, there's all sorts of other factors. We're going to spend some time today talking about the UAW strike because there's new news there. There's also another indicator that would suggest that it could become a better time to buy a car would be from the industry publication Auto Finance News. Rising interest rates lead to a 68% dip in floor plan interest income. Dealer profit continued to decline in Q2. There's all sorts of data out there that demonstrates that dealers are starting to pay to hold inventory on their lots again. The way that this works, for those of you that are unfamiliar, most car dealers are just like you and I. They do not pay cash to buy their cars. They finance them, and that's called a floor plan. That floor plan is essentially just a line of credit. And
it's exactly
dealers,
what it is.
Dealers can make money off of that floor plan, because for new vehicles, the original equipment manufacturer, the OEM, will actually subsidize, because traditionally in the past, the vehicles would sit there for a significant amount of time. The automakers will actually subsidize that vehicle sitting there. I mean, on some Fords, I've seen invoices where FPA, floor plan assistance, could be like $300, $400, $500.
Yeah, and you know, it could be that the first 15 days of floor plan that the manufacturer covers, or floor plan assistance, gets paid if it's an order car or a pre-sold car. When it comes in, it gets sold right away. That floor plan assistance, if it was $300, $400, $500, that floor plan assistance basically becomes a profit center for the dealership, because they're not going to have to expend that money to cover the floor plan.
There is no floor plan expense
on that vehicle.
Yeah.
Now, so we know that dealer profits are down slightly this year over last year. Okay, that dealerships aren't making as much money as they did last year or the year before that. And even though dealer profits are down, they are still up probably close to 35 to 40% above what they had been prior to the pandemic. So as we see profit levels for the dealerships declining slightly, they are still in so much better a position today than they were.
For sure, but my point is, Dad,
Yes.
that there are these indicators that would suggest that you should be able to get more negotiability and better pricing, because we have these fleet sales going up, not retail sales nearly as much, and then you have floor plan income dropping, becoming an expense again. Think about that. Imagine in any other type of business where a traditional expense category, something that you lose money on, becomes an income category.
Yes. Well, and it has been.
It has
for many of the dealers
for the past 2 years. Yeah.
Yes. Now, that's not the case, say, at Stellantis. It's probably I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah. But yes, let's wave. Yay.
It's definitely not the case at Stellantis.
Yeah.
Or it definitely is the case that they're spending more money on floor plan at Stellantis.
Yes. Well, it's definitely not the case at Stellantis that it's now become a profit center for their dealers.
Yeah.
And it's not the case at Ford for the most part. And it's not the case at General Motors for the most part.
Yep.
It is at Toyota.
Definitely.
It is at Honda.
Because those cars never touch the ground.
Well,
they're pre-sold.
They touch the ground. They just don't spend very much time on the ground.
Yeah.
And so whatever the floor plan assistance is, it's much greater than what their actual floor plan costs would be. So for those brands, it still remains a profit center. My point simply was, even though floor plan costs are going up for the GM brands, the Stellantis brands, and the Ford and Lincoln brands, the dealers are still making more profit dealership wise today by 30-40% than they did prior to the pandemic, even with much higher floor plan charges.
Pops, let's go to the chat here for a quick moment, and then we've got a few other stories that we need to look at. We've got from Drew.
Yes.
Off topic, but was looking at your email templates today and noticed they still include references to supply chain issues.
Yes.
Is that still relevant to include when contacting a dealer? I'm just gonna mention it. I'll pull them up on the screen in a second. Free email templates for contacting car dealers. You should probably put your eyes on those and maybe do a quick revision to them, or maybe even work with the team a little bit. Because I do think for most brands, mentioning that there's supply chain issues is not relevant anymore.
No, it's still relevant for Toyota, for Honda, for Hyundai, for Kia. It's certainly not relevant for most of your GM, Ford, or Stellantis products.
So we need to add that asterisk on the on the email templates.
So you might want to. I guess.
Yeah, maybe we should. Yeah. I'll connect you with Dan. Yeah, so if you go to the CarEdge.com website, it's pretty straightforward. Go find a car that you're interested in. Great, it's this XT4.
Yes, certainly.
And if I scroll down here, where is it? View email templates. And it'll take you right to all of the various email templates. So there you go.
And they cost how much?
That is free, good sir.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Let's jump back to the chat here.
Okay.
Dad, we've got from Random Indie. Toyota inventory is terrible. I read on the Toyota forums there's a 3-year wait time for a RAV4 Prime.
Okay, well, in my case, it would be one of the things is if I were to give you a deposit to hold my place, is that refundable in case I die between now and then? Will my estate get that money back?
Yeah, will your estate get the money back? That is terrible. Deep Dive Auto wants to know that how bad is a dealer with a new 2021 still sitting on their lot?
How bad are they?
What type of situation are they in?
Well, that's probably a car that they own.
Yeah.
What type?
They're
of
not floor planning that one.
What type of situation are they in? That is a dealer principal who is thinking that ultimately he's going to have the only one left in America, and somebody's going to want it, and they're going to have to pay for it, and he's willing to wait however long that takes. Sounds like an owner I used to work for.
Yeah.
it's not the business practice that I would advocate. Okay. It's not gaining value sitting there for 3 years. It's just not. It's actually probably costing you money because, well, just sitting and doing nothing, probably going to need tires when you go to sell it because it's going to have flat spots in the tires, and lot rot is going to hit other aspects of the vehicle, and so before you know it, you're going to be spending several hundred or thousands of dollars to bring it back up to snuff to sell it as a new car.
I like this from Justice here.
Yeah.
We saw some new 2022s. I don't want to say the Ford word, but I have seen a few new 2022s from that OEM last month. I think they were waiting on chips. You've got to remember, if you're watching this channel or the CarEdge channel 2 years ago, we were talking about cars waiting for chips. We don't talk about that anymore because it's not a story. Cars have chips. But there were a lot of cars sitting around waiting.
Yes.
And there are still some of those, I'm sure, lingering and making their way into the market. The great way to know when a car was produced is to look in the door jamb.
Yes.
In the B pillar.
And it'll give you the on the plate there, it'll tell you what month and year it was manufactured.
It absolutely will. All right, let's switch gears, Dad. Found some interesting data over on IC Cars. They did an analysis of the least expensive and most expensive areas, cities where you can buy a used car right now. This data I thought was super interesting. Here we go. Cleveland, Akron. The average used car price is the lowest in the country. It's 8.1% below the national average at $31,458. Cincinnati, Ohio, $31,622.
You know what that indicates to me?
What's that say to you, Pops?
It says to me that Ohio is not a place I'd want to live. Yeah. Apparently, economics-wise, things aren't going well in some of those major areas in Ohio.
I'd be concerned about rust.
Huh?
I'd be concerned about rust.
Yeah, but my point is the reason the prices are lower is because the people can't afford higher prices there. Okay, so that
is that the truth? Is that, do you feel like that's true for number 4, number 5, Fresno, Visalia, California, or Orlando, Dayton Beach, Florida,
Daytona Beach, excuse me. Yeah. I mean,
Well, another one on here, Columbus, Ohio.
How much do you think Disney workers are getting paid?
I have no clue.
Neither do I. But those are a lot of hourly wage people.
So you can see here, you can see the locations that have the lowest used car prices. Look at this, Dad. The 10 most expensive cities to buy a used car.
Ooh.
Can't be too surprised by number 1.
Why?
West Palm Beach,
Why?
Florida.
Because it's a fairly wealthy area.
10% to buy a used car there than anywhere else. And that's just, IC Cars methodology is list price. That's not even including dealer fees and everything like that. So Florida's the worst state to buy
Denver,
a car.
Yeah, these are all wealthier
Austin,
areas.
Seattle, Tacoma, Salt Lake City, Charlotte, Dallas, Fort Worth, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Los Angeles, and Boston.
Go figure. I mean, they're all wealthier
Does that mean that you should travel? If I live in Pierce, what was it? West Palm Beach.
Yeah.
I live in West Palm Beach, Florida. Should I buy a used car from, wait a second,
Cleveland or Cincinnati?
Yeah. That's what that says.
And the difference is the rust that you're going to have from Cleveland will be from the salt that they used on the roads in the winter, as opposed to the ocean water salt from the hurricanes.
There you go.
Yeah. They're both going to have rust.
I feel like this is kind of interesting. Like it does speak to potential opportunities.
Yes.
To look outside your market.
Yeah. I mean, look at Norfolk, Portsmouth, Newport News.
Yeah.
The military installations. There are. Yeah, that's what it tells you.
So IC Cars even went further, and they actually showed. Here it is.
Yeah.
The most and least expensive cities to buy popular used cars. Look at this data. Chevrolet Malibu.
Yeah.
Chevy Malibu.
Yeah.
The least expensive metro area is Miami, Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah. Do you know
why? The most expensive is Dallas.
Yeah. Do you know why?
Huh.
Well, because if you're in the Miami, Fort Lauderdale area, you have to indicate that you've achieved a certain lifestyle. And a Malibu isn't saying it for you, but that Lambo might.
Look at the potential savings though. 17.6% potential savings if you're in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and instead of buying your Chevy Malibu there, you go to Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas.
Okay.
Same thing for the Toyota Tacoma. You could save
now
17.3%.
why would it be so cheap in the Dallas Fort Worth, Texas area? Because everybody wants a damn pickup truck. Nobody wants a Malibu in Dallas Fort Worth. You might actually get arrested for driving a Malibu instead of a pickup truck,
in his opinion.
In my opinion.
The Ram 1500, you could save 16.5%, which is $7,800.
Yes.
By buying one in Akron, Ohio instead of Denver, Colorado.
Yes.
This is super interesting. We're actually working on one of our community members, a really kind gentleman named Colin. He's a GIS professional. Colin,
what GIS was it?
GIS stands for Geographic Information System.
Something your sister
did
when she was in college. What she when she went to McGill. That was her
part of her undergrad. Yeah. So we had this man because he's reaching out to us to help us think through how we could show car trends and show available inventory spatially, like on a map.
Gotcha.
This data paired with that would be
goodness gracious. Yes.
Go to Akron instead of Denver to buy that Ram 1500.
Yeah.
It would save you $7,800. Who cares about the $1,000 to ship it? It's worth it.
Forget shipping it. You fly there and drive. And then you head over to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame before you make your drive back.
Anyway, stay tuned. We're working on something there. We'll see if anything comes of it, but it's super interesting. And we love when community members reach out to us with ideas. From Roitslayev, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Thank you for the contribution. Thank you guys for the work that you do. If the UAW gets their pay increase, I will leave my hospital job and go work at the factory. All right, let's talk a little bit about the UAW strike. There is
no strike yet.
The potential, the seemingly likely UAW strike.
Yes.
This headline from Ford Authority I thought was really spot on.
Okay.
New UA deal or even strike could prove costly for Ford. It doesn't really matter what the outcome here is. It's going to be expensive no matter what for these automakers.
Well, it does matter in the sense that if they're producing cars and they are shipping them to their dealers and invoicing them to their dealers, and they have money coming in. If there's just a strike, there ain't no money coming in. So there is a difference. Either way, it's going to impact their business. Okay. And if there is a strike and then ultimately a settlement, that's going to impact the rest of us, because I've said it before. It would be foolish of us to think that as these manufacturers' costs go up to produce these vehicles, that we're not going to see a commensurate increase in the MSRPs to cover that new increase in cost.
Totally.
To produce these. So either way, it's going to not only impact Ford or GM or Stellantis, actually all three of them, it's going to impact you and I as consumers. So, the UAW workers, they'll get a win, they'll have some more money, and the rest of us will need more money to be able to afford to buy these overpriced vehicles to begin with that we've already established appeal to a much smaller market than they used to, because there's fewer and fewer people who can actually afford to buy the damn things.
While the OEMs are making more money than they've ever made before.
And while
dealers are making more money
than they've ever made before, even though it's down slightly this year. Yeah. So what it means is, as consumers, we're screwed. Okay, it's just that simple. We're going to pay more. We are going to pay more
no matter what.
No matter what, we're going to pay more.
So, do you really think that new vehicle MSRPs from the big three will go up even more, no matter what happens after September 14th? Like, that's your expectation for the next model year? So you're just gonna see increases in MSRPs, because they all have to pay for, either they're going to pay for increased wages that they negotiate, or they're going to pay for it in terms of they're going to have this new cost center because they're not producing vehicles, and eventually they're going to have to pay for it because they're going to have to increase wages. Like, no matter what, they're going to have to increase wages.
There's very few times that you ever see year over year the MSRP of a vehicle go down. Okay, that happens rarely.
You're right.
Okay, every year you anticipate that there's going to be some type of cost increase from the current model year to the next model year. Now, I can think back to 1999, I think it was, when Acura had the TL, and they actually came out with the 3.2 TL, and they increased the amount of equipment in the vehicle while reducing the price, the MSRP of the vehicle, by $4,000 or $5,000. That doesn't happen very often. Okay, now trust me. Since then, the price of the TL has done nothing but go up. So either way, the prices are always going to continue to go up. But if there's a strike, or even if there isn't a strike, if there's a new agreement between the UAW and these manufacturers prior to ever having a strike, and it's going to cost the manufacturers more money, well, then the prices are, either way, the prices are going up. Either that, those costs always get transferred to the ultimate buyer of the vehicle.
Yeah.
The consumer is the one that ultimately covers the cost of those increases.
For some context here, the UAW to General Motors, 1,000 new requests is what GM Authority is reporting.
Yeah.
1,000 new requests. So it's not just, we hear the headlines, 40% pay increase, 46% pay increase,
32-hour work.
32-hour work. There are a lot of demands in here. And this is, to be very clear,
Yes.
the purpose of unionized labor in the United States is protect the laborers, the workers.
Yes, no, absolutely.
So this process is working as intended. They are negotiating, and September 14th has not come and gone yet.
Yeah.
The unfortunate reality, I think, for all of us who have been a part of this journey, and what I mean by that is the past 3 years of watching car prices go through the roof, is that you're right. No matter what, we're going to see new vehicle prices continue to increase.
Yes.
And that's not good, because we've seen an entire departure from affordability. Like that there is no such thing as affordability for new cars anymore, with the exception, or I should say, for the domestics.
Yes.
There are no affordable options for the domestics relative to their, international peers. So no matter what, not really a great story.
And the fact that there's in excess of 1,000 demands, one of the most important aspects of negotiations that you have to understand is, in every negotiation, there's always requests for things you never, ever anticipate getting. I've said to you, if we ever get big time, I want a trailer with my name on it, and I want that refrigerator filled with tons of bottled water. Now, do I really expect to get the bottled water? No, but I want the damn trailer. The bottled water's a throwaway.
You're
the
funny,
trailer.
Man. You're funny. You've never said that. That was a good one. That was funny. That was good.
Yeah. So every negotiation, whether it be the UAW against the manufacturers or customers against car dealers, each side is including something that they never anticipate getting. And if they do, they're going to poo their pants. They go, holy, I can't believe I got that. Okay. But they're just throwaway items so that you can agree to say, okay, I'll take that off the table.
That's why they got 1,000 of them. Let's quickly do our favorite segment of this show.
Really? You've got to be kidding me.
All right. So again, the public service announcement. Thank you again to Mike E. We've got another Ford dealer misrepresenting MSRPs, gang. So this is now just a public service announcement.
Okay.
If you are in the market to buy a new car, I can't believe we're saying this, but the MSRP as listed on their website is $74,340 with a $7,000 savings.
And this is at Schottenkirk Ford in Jasper, I'm assuming, Wyoming.
Okay, that's fine.
Well, that's what it says, Jasper, just Schottenkirk Ford.
And then here is the window sticker, $72,800.
And what did they say it was?
This can be, to be very clear.
Yeah.
We're empathetic to the idea of making mistakes. We make mistakes all the time.
Yes.
This is not, I'm not calling out Schottenkirk Ford, not in the slightest. This is a mistake that can happen. This is a public service announcement to consumers to double check the MSRP.
And to the dealers who are posting that perhaps
double check your own stuff.
Yeah, double check your stuff, that perhaps somebody's dyslexic when it comes to typing in some of this information. You are way too kind to these dealers to suggest that it might just be
no, because I'm empathetic to it. We have issues that come up on our website too.
Yeah. No, I get it.
Yeah.
Okay. I get it. Check the rest of their damn inventory and then tell me.
Now that I can buy into.
Okay. Because if on most of their inventory there is that discrepancy, then one might surmise that it is intentional.
No.
But we don't know that until we were to check their inventory.
Even if it was all incorrect, that doesn't mean it was intentional.
What else would it be?
I'm just saying, I've had many bugs, many issues that have come up in our website. It doesn't necessarily mean it's intentional.
If the MSRPs are inflated on their website,
what if they're all inflated by the same amount?
Then it's intentional.
No, maybe it was just a bug.
It's not a bug. This ain't the flu. Okay. Oh my! Stop it. I know that you don't want Shot and Kirk suing us. Okay. I don't want to. I have to cut it off there, folks.
All right, we'll be back tomorrow.
Yes,
thank you everyone for joining us. We'll be back at what time?
12:02. We're adding 2 minutes to our starting time, much like some dealers add $2,000 to their MSRP.
See you 12 then, folks.
At noon tomorrow, noon Eastern, 9 Pacific, 8 a.m. in Anchorage, and 6 a.m. in Honolulu. We'll see you all back here tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen.
See you guys.